Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Above the Noise. I'm your host, Casey Messick. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Saturday evening. Thank you for tuning in. The music is FKJ in the background. As always, I will drop a link to this particular video in the description after the show. But as always, it's always FKJ. Always recommend checking him out on YouTube and Spotify. So, anyway, as I was saying, welcome to another episode of Above the Noise, a live stream podcast where we seek to elevate the conversation above the sound bites and the fear tactics and division of mainstream media and social media and just all the noise that's out there. And just really it's about becoming a better human being and discussing the things and the topics that really matter to the human experience. I like to always preface this show saying that I don't really prepare notes. I'm very much off the cuff and kind of rant. The things I talk about, I am by no means an expert in, but I am an average person that has a thirst for knowledge, authenticity, and the human experience. And I've very much invested a lot of my life and time and energy into really understanding what it means to be human and really fully understanding the human experience on this planet. So, again, I speak broadly. The topics I talk on, feel free to research further if you would like. Again, I'm just an average person like anybody else. But I feel like we listen to pundits and we listen to celebrities talk about topics and tell us like how we should live or suggest what's right and wrong. And I feel like we're a very smart species, and you and I are just as valid as any pundit in our opinions and our thoughts on the things that matter. So that being said, again, welcome to the show. I am Casey Messick. If you're just tuning in, thank you for joining me. If you're watching the replay, thanks for checking it out. So tonight's topic is food and thought and the future of health, and whether or not that's the future of health. I would argue that it's very much the present of health. Before I get too deep into that topic, though, I wanted to touch on something else that's really kind of been running through my mind for the last week via my own approach to what I'm doing here with these live feeds, and then just a lot of stuff I see on Facebook. So right now, this show is only happening on Facebook, and I got into it because I like talking a lot, you know, and I've been in the restaurant industry for 30 years. And while I enjoy it, I'm at that point, like, I'm tired of like making money with my hands, and I feel like I've got a good brain and I like to talk a lot. So I really needed an outlet for that. And I feel like I've got a pretty decent perspective on that. You know, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life, addiction, and I talk about all that kind of stuff a lot, and relationships. And so I wanted to be able to like find another avenue to do what I love while supporting myself at the same time. And so I mentioned that in the context too. I see a lot of stuff on Facebook, people talking about like digital creators, like everybody's profile says digital creator now. And like, what is that about? So I just wanted to kind of speak on that real quick and then segue that into an idea that I have that I'm going to apply it here to me on this show, but I would encourage everybody to do it as well. But I'll get to that in a minute. So to clear up the air, so everybody, if there's any confusion over what the whole digital creator thing is. So if you go to your profile settings, it's pretty simple. If you go to your profile settings on Facebook and you go down through there, there's a tab, you know, a little thing to turn on professional mode. Well, if you turn on professional mode, what it does is basically turns your profile into a page, more or less. So you get all the benefits of having a page on Facebook. You get all the insights and all that kind of stuff. And then, so when you do that, you have to select something under there, like a category, more or less. And it's stuff like radio broadcast, filmmaker, artist, you like musician, all kinds of stuff like that. And so the catch all in there is digital creator. Like I have digital creator on mine because that's really what it fell under. And I wanted to have access to the insights because I wanted to start doing these live streams, and I wanted it to function in an effective manner, if that makes sense. And so, but one of the things that it also does is opens the doorway to monetization, which is what a lot of people are attempting to do. And there's a whole creator economy that is very much alive right now, and is very much moving towards the future, and will be a big part of the future. But I'm not going to get too deep into that right now, because that could honestly be a whole other topic, and I will probably talk about that soon, because I think it matters, and I think it's will open the doorway for a lot of people to really pursue the things that they love in a way that they can see a return. Like, the world is changing quickly. And so I just kind of want to encourage people to really take advantage of it. Like, now is a good time to do that. So with monetization on Facebook is the same as monetization on any other platform. Let's take YouTube, for example. It basically comes down to view time. Like, how much view time? Like, you got to have hours and hours and hours of view time before you can even cross a threshold to get some ads thrown in your shit. It's the same on Facebook. It's the same on YouTube. The other avenue that you, as a content creator or somebody trying to monetize what you're doing, is things like Patreon and platforms like that, which is a subscriber kind of thing. So everybody's probably familiar with Patreon and stuff. So you get subscribers, monthly thing, you put exclusive content out, blah, blah, blah. Like, we all know how it works. Well, for me personally, I don't like that whole framework for monetizing what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? Like, I do this because it matters. Like, irregardless of monetization, I would still be doing this. You know what I mean? Because it's stuff that matters. And again, it's a very wonderful outlet. And I say it all the time. I can't imagine anything else more worthwhile to be doing with my platform here on Facebook than to be talking about stuff that matters. But my problem with that whole framework of Patreon and the view time is, for me personally, and what I'm trying to achieve with this show, is elevating it above the noise. And so for me to be like, okay, if I want to try and turn this really into something for me that can allow me to support my family doing something that I love, I've got to like jump through all these hoops, you know what I mean? And it's like, it just to get to what? Advertising that I really don't want. I don't want to have to make money by having an ad, but suddenly pop up, right? An ad just popped up on YouTube because I got YouTube in the background for the music, you know what I mean? And an ad pop up mid-talk selling you something that, you know what I mean? It's very much counter to what I'm hoping to achieve here, you know what I mean? So that's an avenue I don't even really want to like pursue, to be honest, as far as monetization of content, And then you've got to scratch that whole avenue. The other avenue is stuff like Patreon. But again, like, I have a hard time doing multiple platforms. That's why this is on Facebook. Like, I'm very comfortable here. I've got a sphere of people here that I like, I'm comfortable with. And it's like the whole notion of dragging people to some other fucking platform to see more of what you can see right here on Facebook for free. It seems kind of redundant to me. And who wants another monthly payment or something, honestly? You know what I mean? Again, seems kind of counter to what I want to do with the show. So to kind of move through this a little quicker so that I can get on with the rest of the show, this is what I'm proposing, and I'm going to apply it to myself. And I would encourage anybody else out there. And when I say anybody, I mean, if you've got a voice and you've got stuff you want to talk about, you know what I mean? You're a painter. You're a musician, you're a whatever, a sculptor, you're just smart as fuck, and you got a whiteboard with a bunch of equations that I might not understand. Listen, I've got a friend on Facebook here. The woman is absolutely gorgeous. She's fucking brilliant. Like, and I'm a pretty smart dude, but it blows my mind. So, but again, that's not the point. The point is, like, if you're just really smart and you're just like working out equations, like working through shit in your mind, you know what I mean? Do it. And here's what I'm proposing. Because I come from a restaurant background, I want you to kind of think of what I'm doing here and even this whole platform as digital street corners, I suppose. Like, this is my block right here. Casey's page is my block of Facebook. And on my block right here, I got my soapbox. I'm on it right now. It's called Above the Noise. And in front of my soapbox, I got my hat. I'm a little bald. I hope you don't mind. I got my hat. Imagine your street performers. You're in New York City. You're walking around, street performers. The Facebook could, it's a digital social ecosystem. I mean, we can hate on it all we want, and what it's become. Well, we're very much a part of what it's become. Like, we fuel what the algorithms are showing us. It's, mirrors back to its input output. And so if you think about it that way, and you're putting yourself out there, I'm putting myself out here. I'm on my street corner. Think of it as a tipping system. Never mind Patreon. I don't want to encourage you, or I would encourage anybody. Like, let's think of it different. Let's approach it differently. Let's imagine we're scrolling our feeds in this digital landscape. You come across my talk, you're kind of digging it. Like, I like this guy. You're standing on my block for a minute, listening to me proselytize or philosophize or get cannabinized or socialize or whatever, humanize. And if you like it, then, hey, throw a tip in the hat. You know what I mean? Do that with everybody. If you like the show, you like what I'm saying, throw $1 in the hat. Hit it up in Cash App, PayPal, whatever. Throw $1 in the hat. Do that with everybody. Again, if you're an artist, I had this friend again. I don't know whatever happened to her. She used to paint. A lot of you were probably friends with her too. Pretty sure her name was Joan. And she painted a lot. And I don't know whatever happened. I loved her live streams. I loved it because she would just be talking, some music, painting us a picture. And it was fucking beautiful. Whatever happened to that stuff? Like, why isn't that, you know what I mean? We got reels with, 20-second, 30-second attention spans, but man, we're deeper than 20 and 30 seconds, are we not? I try and limit stuff to 20 minutes. I can't do it. I'm a talker. You know what I mean? So again, just to kind of wrap up this part of what I'm encouraging people to do here. If you're an artist, start live streaming some shit. Drop your Cash App. I'm using StreamYard. You know what I mean? Get the ticker running down there and just do your thing. Just do your thing. Don't make it about money, though. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm putting this in a sphere of, like, I'm just trying to be real, honestly, guys, because I'm authentic. That's like my whole reason for existing and doing this, is to encourage authenticity. And so, like, straight up, it's not about the money. I'm going to do it regardless. Would I love to make this transition to where I can do this and be like, yeah, and just keep elevating the show up and stacking it up and making it better and better and reinvesting and living the dream? Fuck yes, I do. I would be lying if I said I didn't, So, that being said, oh my goodness, I got overexcited. My apologies. I probably forgot to mention that tonight's episode is brought to you by Platinum Cookies from my local dispensary. So anyway, I apologize for that flip, but that was still pretty smooth. So moving on with the show, guys. So tonight is about food and thought and health. So I'm going to kind of move quickly through food because, to be honest, I'm not very much an expert in it, and the knowledge that I kind of have is pretty, what I feel, kind of common sense knowledge at this point. Others would tell me that perhaps it is not, and I'm overestimating the human race and what they're knowledgeable of. Maybe not, but if you're not knowledgeable, well, welcome to the upper stratosphere above the noise. So food is basically, my thoughts are on this. We could do a whole show just on food and nutrition, no doubt about it. I am not an expert on that by any means. If you are, or if you know somebody that is, and you are interested in coming on the show, hit me up, please. Like, DM me. Let's set it up and we'll do it, because it's also a topic that needs to be discussed. So basically, as far as food goes, for me, it seems like kind of a no-brainer. So don't eat a lot of processed foods as far as health goes. Like, we very much know that processed foods are bad for us in the information age. We know that they are full of chemicals that are arguably not good for us. Artificial dyes, sweeteners. If you look at the ingredients on a box, there's a lot of stuff there that doesn't look like food. Like, numbers aren't food, guys. You know what I mean? If you can't pronounce it, it's probably not a food. If you have to look it up, Google that shit. You know what I mean? If it's being marketed to us, it's arguable whether or not we should be eating it, honestly. And then just, so it's really about organic, natural foods. I mean, eat a healthy diet, guys. Like, nutrition is good for your body. That's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? This is just what it is. So that's all I'm going to say about food. So I hope you weren't expecting too much on food, because I don't have much more to offer you on that at the moment. So again, if you are interested in sharing more on food and nutrition, please, I encourage you to come on. I like to learn. I'm very much about knowledge. And this is kind of where knowledge brokering right here a little bit. I'm just sharing it with you. This is kind of what I've gained. And that's why I say I'm not an expert on anything, but everything that captures my interest because of the way I am, I will obsess about it and learn just like everything I can about it, and just dive so deep that I have a brain packed full of just stuff. And I like talking about shit. And so you can apply it to your life or not, it may matter. So I'm going to light this cigarette. And I'm not talking about addiction tonight, but smoking is bad for you guys. Don't do it. It's one of the last big things I have to quit is my addiction to cigarettes. And I think I have an addiction to love a little bit, maybe. But that's for later in the show, maybe. I'll get to that, to love and oxytocin and serotonin and all that good stuff. So, thoughts and how they affect our lives and our bodies specifically. Now, if you've watched anything else, I talk a lot about authenticity and your thoughts to creating your outer world and the things you focus on, and energy flows where focus goes. So, as far as health goes, we know at this point in the information age that the human body is basically a machine, for lack of a better way to put it. Even the life sciences and biology, everybody describes it that way. And when I say everybody, a lot of the things and the ideas that I reference here, I want to say this real quick and get it out of the way so that I don't forget. If you're interested in more information, because I'm going to speak kind of broadly, I highly, highly, highly recommend you 5 stars. Check out people like Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza. If you want to get kind of, I want to say metaphysically, like if you want to check out some Abraham Hicks, that's a mood. Abraham Hicks is a mood, but I'm not gonna stay on that. It's too long. But people again like Bruce Lipton especially, and he's got a book out, Biology of Belief. It's been out for a while. That talks about a lot of the brain chemistry and chemicals that are released in the brain based on the thoughts and perceptions and beliefs that we have. So the body is a machine. The brain is basically the computer that controls the body, more or less, to keep it simply. So the brain and the body, when there's a disconnect, which I feel like a lot of us have because we're not living authentically, like the body doesn't really know what's going on. It can't differentiate between external, something that's happened to it externally and something that you're telling it with your brain. And so the best example of how our thoughts and our brain affect our health is stress. It's the number one cause of disease, which it's right there in the word, guys. Disease, dis-ease, lack of ease, lack of ease. So disease is a lack of ease. So the biggest cause of a lack of ease in our life is stress, just from everyday life, from the society and the system we live in, and how it's been structured keeps us in a constant state of stress, fight or flight almost, And so what happens with the body, to keep it simply, and again, I'm half stealing a story from Bruce Lipton and some of his talks, and he references like what happens with the body in like a fight or flight mode. And so he uses the example, he kind of takes it way back. He uses the example of a tiger, like a saber-tooth tiger. So imagine you're just chilling, you're doing your caveman thing, whatever, you know what I mean? With your fire, you're chiseling shit on the wall, whatever. Saber-tooth tiger pops up. Oh, fuck. You got, it's fight or flight kicks in. And so when fight or flight kicks in, the brain tells the body, saber-tooth tiger, oh, fuck, we got to fucking bounce, get the fuck out of Dodge real motherfucking quick. Big teeth, scary, scary. So the brain sends chemicals and messages throughout the body and the bloodstream and the endocannabinoid system, which is the vagus nerve. That's another point. Get to that. So sends all this information, chemicals throughout the body to tell it fight or flight, cancel everything we don't need, focus on what we do need. So if you're in a getting the fuck out of Dodge mode, your body is telling, your brain's telling your body, pump everything to the extremities, pump it to the legs, because we got to be able to fucking move, pump it to the fucking arms. What we don't need to worry about right now is our immune system, any kind of fucking anything else. All the rest of this is unimportant right now. The only thing that matters is getting away. So in that time frame and in a normal situation, you would flee the saber-toothed tiger. Fuck. You'd catch your breath, and your brain would tell your body, okay, the threat is gone. We can kind of go back into thriving mode. Like we're out of fight or flight. There's no threat anymore. You start breathing normally. Your chest is near not constricted. You're expanding, your blood, the extremities, everything's kind of chilling out, going back to normal. And you would go about your caveman life or whatever life. But in today's world, it is not like that. We are stacked upon stacked upon stacked with stress and fear and boogeymen being thrown at us and illnesses and viruses and anything else you can think of that we never have a chance to like step out of that, because it's just one thing after another, and so we're constantly feeding our body these stress chemicals and these fear chemicals and whatever they are. Again, like I don't remember the names of a lot of them. And again, like you can research all this stuff further if you want, and I wish I did, but I just don't at the moment. But what I'm saying is very true, nonetheless. So we're keeping our bodies in this constant overdose, almost, of fight or flight chemicals and activity and increased heart rate and constricted breathing and outer extremities that are getting pumped full of all the blood, and we wonder why inflammation becomes a thing in our hands and our feet and our hearts, because we're constantly feeding it this. And I start to wonder, I was thinking about this earlier as far as fight or flight goes when I was preparing for the show, is I wonder if our bodies and our minds almost have reached a point, or is reaching a point, where there is no fight or flight switch anymore. Like we can't differentiate from it. You see what I mean? It's almost like this constant state. Like we never step out of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like, have we totally skewed the fight or flight response in the human species from a constant flow of these chemicals that we've almost reprogrammed our brains and the chemical makeup of our body to where we become addicted to that stuff, And it seems crazy, but we know that chemical dependency is a thing. I mean, it's legit. I struggled with addiction for a long time. which is very much fueled by a chemical dependency that was fueled by a lack of things like when you're living that lifestyle, it's a lot of fear and guilt and shame and a lack of love of self and all those feelings like love. Let's just take the feeling of love. That alone releases its own set of brain chemicals into your body and your bloodstream. And that's real. It's oxytocin, it's serotonin, it's all these other things that have a very positive effect on your body. You breathe better and you feel lighter, and whatever it does. And it's like, that's why it's the weirdest thing. And it's not even weird. It's like, why do you think it is? Like, your life can completely suck. You can feel like your life just sucks until one day and one moment. And like you fall in love with like whatever it is. Another person is a great example. It's the easiest one to relate to. So you fall in love and just suddenly those brain chemicals are released. Everything gets brighter. The world's a happier place. Music sounds better. Food tastes better. The bills don't matter so much anymore. The fucking bitch at work that you can't just want to strangle her. She don't even matter no more because you're in love. You got those chemicals flowing through your body and it's making your skin flusher and more vibrant. And it's good for you. Well, your body gets depleted of that kind of stuff when you're not living a life that supports love. And drug addiction does not. And so it develops a chemical dependency. And the thing about chemical dependency is chemical dependency. Chemical is chemical, correct? So that would stand to reason that things like the oxytocin and the serotonin, that love feeling, it feels great, doesn't it? I mean, who the fuck doesn't like being in love? I love it. If you're not familiar with me, stream my, scroll my page, you can tell I very much love in many, many forms, whether it be sexy, erotic poetry or words or art or images or just language and talking and just relationships and just love. I love love. But I'm starting to realize in my reflection of love in this live feed in this show tonight is I start to wonder if I became addicted to love. Like, am I addicted to that feeling of love? Because it can easily become addicted because it feels great and you want to maintain it. But a chemical dependency creates its own issues. And so love is just my example, but I've been on the flip side of love. Like, I wasn't always like this. That addiction had its own things, and for a decade at least, I was very, very, very depressed. Right? Emotionally detached from everything until I fell in love, which led me on a road to falling in love with myself and the epic love story of self-love, which is the greatest love story you could ever live. I highly recommend it too. 5 stars. Fall in love with yourself. Greatest ever. But that depression and those chemicals, when we're in that state of stress or depression, creates its own constant flow of chemicals that we can become addicted to. That's why sadness and depression, and it's so easy to just go to that place because it's very familiar and it's safe, and you know that space. It's easy. I did it for so long, guys. Oh my goodness, a long time. And it's real easy to just take yourself there. No matter what's going on, we have a head full of things. So we're becoming addicted to these brain chemicals that are keeping us in this, fucking our health up, guys. It's fucking it up. Like, we know this stuff's not, let's say, brain chemicals, this stuff's not good for you. We become addicted to them. And so we seek to stay there because we've become addicted to the chemicals and the feeling. And like, I speak poetically and romantically about a lot of things, but the fact of the matter is This is a biological organism that we're existing in. And it's a brilliant, however the fuck it came into existence, whatever your belief is, it doesn't matter to me personally. I know that I'm here right now in this moment talking to you, and how I got here at this moment, I don't know, but I very much want to understand this moment and these moments that I'm living in right now. So irregardless how I got here, I know now at this moment in time, I am a biological organism with a brain and thoughts that when I focus on things and whatever I tell my body, it's going to react to. It's going to affect me. It doesn't matter what's happening around me or you or any of the rest of us. It only matters, really. I mean, not that that doesn't have an effect. Let me put some parameters on that statement, okay? Those things matter, you know, but they matter in the context of it creates the environment that you're existing in. Again, imagine you are a plant, a seed planted in some soil. The things around you are your environment. It's your, I don't know, petri dish, which is kind of fucked up to say. That's not what there's some other term for it. I just can't remember what it is at the moment. But point is, that's the environment. That's the soil that you're growing in. You know what I mean? And so it matters what you feed it, and what you feed, it's what you take in from it, I guess. But what ultimately affects even more than that is what you feed it with your mind. So I've already talked about societal stresses of jobs, boogeyman, mainstream media, fear tactics, division, yeah, Putin, Ukraine, Trump, Biden, whatever it all is. That's all making you feel something. You're angry at it. Well, guess what? That anger releases chemicals in your body and everything as well, which is negatively affecting health in the long term, especially when you're staying in that sustained place. But on top of all that, we have our own personal self-talk and these traumas and the things that we are constantly reliving that have layered us up with masks and baggage. You know what constantly carrying a bunch of shit is probably not good for? Your health. You symbolically, metaphorically speaking, like whatever you want to call it. Probably not good. It'll make you stronger for a little bit, perhaps. But if you don't set that shit down, it's going to wear you out and pull you down, and you're going to collapse, and you're not going to continue to be able moving. You're not going to be able to keep moving forward, or it's going to be slower and slower because now you're not carrying the baggage, you're dragging it behind you, and let that shit go. Because again, like, the body doesn't know. It only knows what your mind's telling it. So when you're staying trapped in the old story of your life, the story that you've been living up to now, the things that make you hold back from attempting things, the things that make you hold back from relationships and love, and your value at work, standing up for yourself at work and asking for that raise, or talking to that person in the elevator, that woman, that guy, like whatever it is, that there's something in your head keeping you from doing that. It's fear. It's fear and it's insecurities. Fear is the mind killer, and it's ultimately the killer of the body, because the mind controls the body. You kill the mind, the body. It's a slow death, And so negative self-talk, it's like a slow suicide, guys. And I know it's not. I'm oversimplifying it probably. I know it's not easy to pull yourself out of those things. And so what I want to kind of suggest to you, and I'm going to talk about the ego for a minute. And so the ego, we all got an ego. If you haven't met me, mine is really big, huge, bigly, huge, big ego. Anyway, but the ego is there for a reason. And the ego is our biggest cheerleader. The ego wants you to be right always, and is going to convince you and make you right always. And so, whatever you're focusing on and is occupying your mind, the ego wants to make you right. So it's going to find absolutely everything in your life and in that surrounding soil to draw on because it wants you to be right. So yeah, okay. Okay, I feel you. I feel you, Casey. You're focusing on some negative shit. All right. Well, I'm gonna. You're focusing on your concerns or whether or not your girlfriend is cheating on you, or any of you for that matter. If that's what's occupying your mind, A, it's fear, it's insecurity, it's a fight or flight response. It creates a lot of emotional brain chemical shit going on. But what happens again, your ego, because it's your cheerleader, it's like, yeah, Casey, you're right. You're right. You're right. And so your ego got you looking for everything to confirm that for you. You think your life sucks? You think your job sucks? Whatever it is that you think is sucking in your life, or whatever it is that you're focusing on, if it's not making you feel good, you're releasing some not ultimately healthy brain chemicals into your body, and your bloodstream, everywhere. It carries that shit everywhere, guys. And it's, we get hooked on it. We get trapped in those mindsets, and we're running off these subconscious programs, like in our heads, that we formed like so far back. And so many of us have had less than nurturing childhoods on whatever level of the spectrum that is a circle that you exist in, and your level of less than nurturing. Anything less than nurturing could be considered traumatic on some levels. Again, I say it a lot for a lot of people that I've met and talked to, and I talk a lot, and I have a lot of discussions with people, childhood sexual abuse, and abandonment, and then kind of everything that comes along with that. And when it happens to you as a child, in your childhood, your whole kind of feelings about everything get really skewed, because it's usually within family, and people that were taught are supposed to love us, and we're at these sponge ages where we don't guys don't overestimate your kids, that they can comprehend things and understand the way that we do as adults, because they cannot. Their brain, that part of their brain hasn't formed yet. And in those first 7 years, like, we know this now, again, you can look this stuff up, like in that first 7 years of our kids' life, and us, like when we were kids, we're just sponges of that soil. We don't have the notion of an ego or to understand we're just learning how to be a human being. Like, how we're new to this. Like, we just, we're in the womb, we heard sounds and shit and felt, you know what I mean? But now we're doing the damn thing, and we don't know how. You know what I mean? And so when we're children, we just absorb from our seed got planted, we were birthed, little sprout came up, and now we're just drawing from the soil around us, because we don't have an understanding yet of how to nourish ourselves. Okay. And so, and so when you have things like that happen in our childhood, and then it becomes little things, guys, like, again, like, ride with me through this and keep it in the context of you're just absorbing, your surroundings. You can't separate. And so one of the examples I use a lot of times too is, say you as a parent are just having a bad day because you're in fight or flight, that's also half numbed out because you've lived there for so long, you're stressed and you're just trying to figure shit out. And your kid comes up to you and she's been out exploring the yard or what the fuck ever, and she's got this rock that she found. And she's created this is the amulet stone of whatever. It is like a whole story because kids are like, brilliant. We can learn a lot from our kids, guys. So she's got this amulet of whatever magical dimension she just came back from. And all it's her most precious thing right now. And she wants to give it to you. Dad, look at this, the amulet. I found it. But you're just like, I don't care about the amulet right now. I'm just noise. Because you're trapped in the noise. She is way the fuck up here above the noise, like in the vortex, the ether, But you are not. You're mired in the noise. But she doesn't understand that. Your kid doesn't understand that you're just having a bad day. They just know they just got back from a magical fucking adventure and you just shit on it. The coolest thing they had ever found, they wanted to give it to you, Dad or Mom. And we just missed them. Oh my goodness. Because we don't think about it, But when we're kids, that becomes a layer. That becomes the layers of too much. Like I'm not going to share the things that I'm excited about or passionate about because people don't really care. They don't really want to hear what I'm passionate about. Now, I don't know how old you are watching this right now. I'm 46. That's still a subconscious part of my programming that I have to remind myself about. When I talk too much, because I do. That's why I do this. It's a healthier outlet for me to talk too much, but also try and be productive and offer some value to something that I carried for a long time, a subconscious programming and a mask of being too much. And I ripped that mask off because I'm not too much. I don't want to carry that mindset of too much. It keeps me unhealthy. And fuck that, And we all do it, and we do it all the time. And it keeps us in unhealthy relationships. It keeps us in just unhealthy lives and unhealthy bodies. And it doesn't have to. I mean, it'd be like, you control your mind. Like, you control it. But you have to bring it above the noise. That's why the noise is there. It's there to keep you, because as long as you're mired in the noise is controlling your mind. You know what I mean? I know you know what I mean. You're smart people. You're all smart people. I'm just trying to piece it together for you a little bit. So we have to realize we live in a system that profits from disease. So to roll it back to earlier in the show, let's break that word down. Disease, dis-ease, a lack of ease. We live in a system that profits from a lack of ease. And so, again, I've worked in restaurants. I understand business a little bit. And so, for a business to be profitable, there has to be patrons to do it. You know what I mean? There has to be like a means to make money. And so when you create an industry that makes its money based on sick people, it needs sick people to be profitable. Otherwise, there's no money in it. So it stands to reason that food and thought, and we have a system that has attacked our biological organism with toxic stuff on both fronts. Again, it's the information age, guys. Like, go Google that shit, brave it, DuckDuckGo, whatever browser you choose to use. Go look that shit up. Like, we know there's toxic shit in the food. It's on the store shelves. Approved by the FDA. I mean, again, we have a governmental organization that's responsible for making sure that the food and the drugs are safe. So let me put that back in context for you again. Let me make that statement again and see if you catch where I'm going with this. There is a governmental organization, one organization that handles food and drugs. So they approve the food that goes on our shelves and in the stuff we consume. And they approve the medicines that we take that are available to us. Does that seem like, to me, that seems almost conflict of interesty, does it not? I mean, just to throw that out there. So, but that's what it is. I mean, let's be honest, that's what it is. So toxic chemicals are allowed in the food and stuff like that. But then they bombard our brains with fear and division and noise and labels and all these reasons for us to be at odds with something or someone, because we've all grown up in this society and been led to believe that everything that exists in our life and that happens to us, good, bad, whether it's the job, the relationship, our health. This is about health. So I'm going to keep it in the context of health. Everything that happens to us in our life is because of something outside of us. Like, we've all been led to believe and programmed. It's that subconscious programming, guys. And this is the thing. We've all got so much of the same subconscious programming. They've got us at odds with each other and thinking like we're all different and stuff, but really we're not. We're all just existing at different levels of the same kind of experience, honestly. And that's why I am you is whatever, I am the walrus kind of thing, and the we are one thing is like, even just in that context of, I'm in the United States. The majority of the people watching this are probably in the United States. We have all grown up in the same society that's just been generational and generational and generational, and the same programmed mindsets generally being just woven on and on and on and on. And that's where we're all operating from, the same place. And so when you realize that, it's like, guys, you're not too much. Like, take a deep breath and realize that we are all not that different from each other. We've all had broken hearts. We've all suffered some level of something. We're all got some chatter and shit going on down in the subconscious that operates all the time. It's the operating system. It's the program of your mind, is the subconscious. So the subconscious that is 90% of your thoughts every day are that subconscious. You're just going through life doing your thing. But that's what's controlling your mind. But your mind is what's controlling the biological organism and the rest of it. And we're letting it be affected by this subconscious programming that we've been layered up on by this system that has methodically and systematically just layered us up to this place, to where it is so hard for people to accept that. And when I include myself in this, guys. I'm just some dude. All right, I live in Virginia, Big Sun Gap, small town. I've got a good brain, and I was fortunate enough to have a not super traumatic childhood, though my life has had a lot of traumas, self-inflicted kind of, you know what I mean? But I was fortunate, and fortunate to have a good mom, honestly, and stuff like that. And I had a reasonably good childhood, but I'm just some guy with a good brain. You know what I mean? I'm nothing special. No, everything I say on these live streams and this show and to anybody, I apply to myself, and I always will. It's the best example I can get. I forgot where I was going with that, because in case you missed it earlier, tonight's stream is brought to you by Platinum Cookies from my local dispensary. But we all do it. And so we're all operating from that subconscious programming. And that's what's affecting our health. And, this show is going to go a little longer because I realize I'm coming up on 10 o'clock. I wanted to keep these shows at an hour, these episodes, but I went on for a little bit about the whole content creator thing. Again, if you missed that at the top of the show, I'm suggesting if you want to support people that you enjoy on Facebook and content creators, I keep it in the content of Facebook because it's the platform that I'm operating on. I'm suggesting instead of Patreon or views to try and get to ads that are counter to my message, I'm suggesting a tipping service. You know what I mean? And so, because I'm from the restaurant industry, and so I'm very much familiar with tipping. And so again, it's like if you're enjoying what's going on, you tip them. I illustrated it in the context of imagine it, and really please, guys, I really encourage you to I really want to change our perspective of what Facebook is and can be and these social media platforms. And I am branching off for a moment on the health topic, but I will get back to it I was looking, here it is, because I wanted to talk about this Louise Hay book again, or not again, but there was some stuff in here I wanted to mention. And so maybe the last part of the show, I'll just kind of carry through this because it's a super great book. If you don't have this, highly recommended it. You Can Heal Your Life, Louise Hay. But anyway, so the tipping thing, Patreon and all that stuff, it's all kind of pain in the ass stuff that requires you to do other things. And so I really want to encourage people to view this as a digital cityscape, for lack of a better way to put it. You know what I mean? Because again, that's what it is. They talk about the metaverse or whatever. That's we're kind of there right now, guys. You're watching me, we're in it right now. But is this notion of this is my block. Imagine you're strolling New York City or London or whatever block you're on, and there's all the street performers and mimes or whatever they're doing, dancers, singers, musicians. I don't know if you can hear that FKJ in the background. But what would you do? You'd watch them for a little bit, and if you liked what they were doing, you'd throw $1 in the hat in the case, buy them a cup of coffee. Think about all the stuff. And again, I'm not just applying this to myself. I'm encouraging everybody to do this. Put out what you're passionate about. Just fucking do it. Apply this platform that I'm suggesting to you. Never mind a Patreon. Never mind trying to get so many views on fucking YouTube that you can get some ads that are going to disrupt your shit. I don't want to be interrupted by ads. No, thank you. We're above the noise. The advertising is part of the noise. I don't want to throw them a tip. Drop it a cash app them, you know what I mean? Hell yeah, I like what you're doing. I appreciate this. Think about all the shit that we spend money on, guys. I mean, honestly, think about it. Did you go in Starbucks and buy a cup of coffee today? How much was that cup of coffee? Think about how much money that we waste as a society and people in our lives, just myself included. You know what I mean? And I think about it and I'm like, well, damn. You know what I mean? And I saw somebody else, a friend of mine, a while back had mentioned, something along these lines. They got these friends, they're musicians, they'd like to be able to support them, but they don't have Patreons. Just do a live feed, drop your cash app, and just do your thing. Just do what you love. Just put it out of mind, and just put yourself on your digital block and do you, boo. Do you. Have your hat out there and just do your thing. And the more you just immerse yourself in the love and just put it out there, it'll happen. You know what I mean? It'll happen. So, anyway, on that note, thank you for watching the show tonight. I've ranted through quite a bit of stuff. I hope some of that made sense. But to kind of carry the show out, I wanted to talk about this Louise Hay book, You Can Heal Your Life. So it's very much about, and I've said it before in other live streams, like part of my whole thing, I say it all the time, everything I talk about leads back to authenticity and just being authentic human beings. Because of all those things I suggested earlier, we are also, the majority of people are not being real. They're holding back. They're lying. We live in this polite society, and I had referenced in my feed earlier this concept of radical honesty, and I'm not going to go too deep into that because I don't want it to be misconstrued. Anna Lemke on YouTube, After School, which is a great channel. I highly recommend it. There's a talk called The Power of Radical Honesty. I highly recommend checking that out for sure. But it's this notion of, like, we think we need to spare feelings, and it's not about not sparing feelings or like being harsh to people. It's about being honest with ourselves. She works in addiction, so it's very much in the context of addiction. And I enjoyed watching it, and I watched it 2 or 3 times, and it was very validating to me and like affirmation, because it's unbeknownst to me, I was doing it, and she was saying that for addicts with successful sobriety, it's about being honest with themselves and honest with the people around them. It's not masking that, you know what I mean? It's being upfront and honest, and like, no, there's no games here. It's being real and authentic. Because if you're not, and you're behind those masks, and when you're not being authentic, your brain is releasing chemicals into your body in an inordinate amount of some and not enough of others. That's why life is about balance. It's about balance with the brain chemicals too, And if you're doing that and you're not being authentic, you're hiding. You're hiding. Stop hiding, people. The stuff that you're ashamed of or you think is an issue, man, it's everybody's fucking issue. And we live in a world that is accelerating quickly because of things like technology, and it has far surpassed the capacity of human beings, the majority of them, to fully understand what's happening around them, because there's a lot of noise, and we're all operating from the subconscious programming. And so that's why I wanted to do this show, because I've tried to elevate myself above the noise as much as I can, and to kind of keep myself there. There's a lot of it. It's easy to get pulled down and it filters in, but I help like get it out and keep myself there by doing this, and to just kind of help you guys bring yourself up there for a little bit too, and think about something else, and to realize that how much of what happens in your life you have control over. You have more control over your health than the system that profits from it, which would have you believe. I mean, like, think about that. Why would they want you to know and really understand that the things that you're thinking and feeling are keeping and affecting your health? Why would they want you to know that? Because if you understand that you can change what you focus on, and that your ego, that is your cheerleader, that for the longest time has been cheering on your sucky life. You've had your cheerleader, your ego, you. That's you. Your ego is you. It's your cheerleader. It wants you to it loves you more than that heartbreak, than that job, than your parents, than your children. That sounds That's just the truth. It exists in you, irregardless of any of the rest of that. It is your ego, and it is your biggest cheerleader. And that cheerleader, you have had that cheerleader cheering on your shitty life, your shitty health, and everything that's wrong with it, and why that's what it is. And it leads to self-sabotage and constant affirmations and a constant finding of everything to support the fact that, yeah, you're right, your life does suck. And your health does suck. And so here's some more brain chemicals to match that thought and those feelings. And now you're just drowning in it. Well, cheerlead for the life you want. You know what I mean? Like, use your cheerleader for the good. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking fake positivity. That's nonsense too. I'm talking about honest realization that you have the choice of what happens in your mind. And it is breaking patterns of behavior. They're patterns. It's a pattern of behavior. The mind's a computer. Guys, you can reprogram that bitch. Like, we can rewire it and everything. It's scientifically being proven all the time. Go look it up. I highly recommend it. Again, check out Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, even some like Dr. Daniel Amen is some good stuff. These people that have been doing all this research on brain scans and cell, neurology, and just like guys way smarter than me, and women too, people, human beings smarter than me. But that when you start piecing it together, it makes so much sense. I mean, it really does. Guys, it really does. But it's hard to accept because of that programming. It's really easy to fall back into that belief that it's everything around you. It isn't. You can't change the people you're around, but you can change the people you're around. Right? We've all read the meme, Jesus Christ, we see that. Apply it to your life. How are you applying it to your life? And how's your health? Because I almost forgot, Louise Hay. Because this book right here, guys, I've said it, if people talk about their health, which a lot of people do, because they're focused on their sucky health and their health problems. So that's what they talk about. So their ego is like, woo, look at what's going on with my sucky health now. I'm so good at sucky health. I have another new health issue. I have another new medicine to take. That's how sucky I am. Look, I'm the best at sucking and sucky health. That's what your ego is doing because you're choosing to focus on it. It's being scientifically proven. Have you heard of the placebo effect? And then I will get into this. See, I talk a lot, guys. I apologize. The placebo effect. All those pharmaceutical ads that pay for the programming, because again, food and drugs controlled by the same governmental organization allows stuff in the food and allows the pharmaceuticals. One organization, FDA. Well, there's another organization that allows the stuff on the television that funds the programming of our brains. And guess what the largest one is? Pharmaceuticals. Do you see the puzzle pieces coming together? It's a business model, guys. You don't have to participate. Turn off the TV. Eat healthier. Think better. The irony is all over the place, guys, in the words, in the language we use. Like, I just got to say that real quick. Disease, dis-ease, lack of ease. Disease is caused by a lack of ease. We have a center for lack of ease control, which sounds fun. I shouldn't get into this. It's not about attacking the government, guys. This is about Louise Hay and your health. And in the back of this book, the very last chapter, is basically a really awesome list that gives you, I'm going to hold this up, I don't know if you can see it. So kind of gives you a list of whatever the ailment is, the probable cause, and the thinking that's aligned with that. So again, just the very first one, abdominal cramps. So Louise Hay, abdominal cramps, the probable cause, fear, and stopping the process. So a lot of these are going to come to fear. Let me just listen, check this out. What's something that, let's look at back pain. How about back pain? A lot of us have back pain, right? So, Louise Hay, back pain, bowels, bone problem, blood pressure, bladder problems. What was it? Oh, back problems. Okay, so here we go. A lot of us have back problems. So, Louise Hay. And again, these are things, it's what she's suggesting is ties together what I've been trying to say, suggest throughout the show is the thought process. And she doesn't get into the chemical release, but basically those chemicals that people like Bruce Lipton talk about and he gets way deep into how the deeper effects. But this list is a really good illustration of a basic mindset and how it will physically manifest itself in your health and your body. So back problems is what a lot of people have. I have back problems. Lower back is mine. So lower back is the first one. So fear of money, lack of financial support. So the lower back support. So that kind of makes sense, right? That's the support of your back. And again, that's probably true. And honestly, my back tends to hurt the most when I'm at work, which is interesting. The middle of your back. So guilt, stuck in all that stuff back there. Like, get off my back. Get off my back. Get off my back. Do you understand? Like, and I don't know how this reflects. I can easily see my lower back feeling and that mindset affecting that support. Because I don't feel like I have enough support. And when you don't feel like you have enough support, it's, I don't feel like I have enough support. I have lower back pain because it's the support mechanism of the biological organism. You know what I mean? So, and so the upper back, lack of emotional support, feeling unloved, holding back love. The upper body, holding back. You're closed in. You're like this. Like, imagine that in a metaphorical sense. What was it? Holding back. Oh, not living in the moment, I suppose. So let's try something else. Let's do. We're just gonna randomly flip to something here. How about pimples? There's a good one. Pimples. So small outbursts of anger. So let's think about the brain chemicals just in that context for a minute. I would imagine, again, anger, while it does serve a purpose and it focuses our attention, it shifts our focus to something that we need to pay attention to. That's why we're angry about it, because it is rubbing it. Anger creates contrast of what you do and do not want in your life, basically. It's like, no, this does not vibe with me, and it's got to go, because we don't want to exist in anger. But if you're always in anger, when you're in this, your brain is releasing chemicals into your body. Well, those chemicals probably, I would imagine, I'm not a scientist or a biologist, but a lot of people I listen to are my friends Bruce Lipton and shit. Chemicals in your body, clogged pores, oilier skin, excess of whatever chemicals that then, or maybe it's because when you're angry, or you eat more because you're frustrated, right? It's whatever. When you're angry, you're less focused on you. Because usually if you're angry, it's something outside of you. So you're less focused on you. So okay, I could rationalize that to myself. So let me do one more, and then I'm going to start wrapping this up, guys. So let's fatigue, resistance, boredom, lack of love for what one does. Well, again, that would make sense if you're in a downward space. your brain's going to release the chemicals. And so just like everything else I talk about, I'm going to light the cigarette. I'm going to wrap the show up on the notion of health in the future. Don't smoke. Don't smoke. It's a horrible habit. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Chemical dependency and habits and mindsets. It's a future of health as far as food goes, in my understanding and my personal perspective, is it's very much about going back. It's about going back to all natural foods, organic, not processed, not factory farmed, not any of those things. Because anything factory farmed, it is ultimately has a negative consequence, be it meats or vegetables, guys. Because you can do some research too. There's pesticides that have been used for quite some time that have multi-generational effects. I can't remember the names of them at the moment, but again, they're out there in the information age. You can find information on that and consider that yourself. But at any rate, food is very much about going back and understanding food, because we don't really understand the foods that we eat. We don't understand what makes a strawberry nutritious for us. Side note, strawberries are very good for your teeth and cleansing them. They can help whiten them, actually. Like, you can crush up a strawberry, get a fresh strawberry, wash it always, preferably from your own garden if you can. Smash that shit up. I'm not even kidding you. You can maybe add a little baking soda if you want for something abrasive, but you don't really need to. And just like brush your teeth with it. Like, I shit you not. You can use the leaves, strawberry leaves, raspberry leaves too, actually. Make a tea, brew it, make a tea, let it cool. Use it as a mouthwash. They're antiseptic. That's natural, healthy shit of food. And we, as a society and a species today, the majority of us have lost that. Knowledge is getting lost. It's getting lost. It's not gone, but it's important. I don't have that, a lot of that knowledge. Like, I understand, but I don't. I know the thing about the strawberries because I got a lot of strawberries. I got a lot of raspberries, and I was looking up things like medicinal purposes. I live on a mountain. There's a lot of stuff around me. I don't know what a lot of this stuff is. I would love to know, but I don't know. But I'm learning, and so I will share my knowledge with you as I learn it. So, you know, strawberries, good for your teeth and your mouth, dental hygiene and health. Strawberries, I love them. So, food, eat healthier. Eat healthier. You'll thank your body for it. But even more than that, probably even before that is the mind, because if you start changing the mind, you'll start eating healthier. Like, it'll all the mind body connection, guys. And I want to tell you this. This is very important. And I've been meaning to say this in a couple of live feeds, and I've come to believe it is true. It is easier to act your way. Well, this might counteract what I was about to say, but I'm going to go with it. It's easier to act your way into a new way of thinking and being than it is to think your way into a new way of acting and being. And the reason that is because the mind it's real easy to lie to you and your ego if you haven't really shifted your stuff. But if you want to eat healthier, like, start eating healthier and just start. We have to remember and really, like, honestly, guys, start looking at this as one whole organism. It works in conjunction. It's not. It's existed. This species, us, human beings, have existed on this planet for quite some time, arguably. How and how long is not the point. The point is, it's practically a perfectly designed machine until we, human beings, started fucking with it, with what we started putting into it, feeding ourselves, and then what we started putting into it in our minds, what we've been consuming. and then what we've been putting into the soil around us that we're growing in, literally. The soil that our plants are growing in, our gardens, yeah, everything. The soil that this and everywhere. We're all growing in it. So, on that note, I have gone on for a while. I apologize, but I hope everybody enjoyed it. Again, if you enjoyed the show and the talk, please feel free, buy me a cup of coffee, throw a tip in the hat, whatever. If not, no worries. I'm going to keep doing this because, as I've said, this is about authenticity for me. Like, this is just as much about me as it is all of you. The cliche line from NA or AA, if you're familiar with any of that, is you keep what you have by giving it away. Well, I got a head full of shit, and I want my brain to keep working because it controls the rest of this. And how long the rest of this lasts, it's all up here. So I want my mind to be healthy. And so I want to keep these healthy thoughts, and I want to give them away because I want a healthier human race. I don't want conflict in my own life or anybody's life, and it doesn't have to be. But until, really, and I say it all the time, you can talk about the politics, you can talk about all that stuff. Until we can rewire and address that subconscious programming and face it and own it and become more peel off the layers of masks and armor. And it's going to hurt because think about if you've had a mask attached to your face and you're being in this armor for the last 30, 40 years of your life or 10 or whatever, and you're imagine trying to rip that off. Fucking Band-Aid hurts sometimes. Imagine trying to rip off layers of protection that they told you needed, and that you told you needed because that programming told you that you needed it. Take control back. That's escaping the matrix, guys, is taking back control of your mind. Because until we do, the fighting to change a system is ultimately just going to recreate a shadow of what we already have. Because if we haven't actually changed that subconscious programming that we're operating from, we're just going to recreate it because we don't know anything else. It's mired in noise in a system that's designed, as we've illustrated, to keep you down here, mired in noise. Because it's easier to control and manipulate and influence your mind and your body and separate you from yourself. There's nothing more important we can do right now than reconnect to ourselves and our fellow human beings, because that is how we change the world. Voting right now does not change the world. We want to think it does, and it could. I mean, it could, but I honestly feel like we're in this space right now that until we get above the noise, honestly understand the power that we have as human beings, nothing's going to really change. Nothing will be lasting. There is no greater revolution than the evolution of the human mind and species. And I don't mean evolution in the sense of that we're taught in schools. I mean the evolution of yourself as a person. Grow, evolve, become everything you wanted to be. Like you can do it. I believe in you. I believe in myself. I use myself as an example. I'm nothing special. I'm just a person like you. I'm not a pundit. I'm not a celebrity. I'm just an average guy that deals with the same stuff you do. I have just taken it and made it for Casey to have his best life and not fall back into addiction and all those trappings. I have to become as authentic as possible. And I don't want to contribute any longer to a fake society. If you want to be a light, there's light in you. It's in all of us. We're all energy. Anyway, energy medicine is another topic, by the way. I wanted to get into energy medicine, the future of health, but I knew I didn't have enough time to cover all of it. So just let it shine, and peel off the layers and tell yourself and just understand that you're you're programmed to feel the way that you feel. It's a program. Change it. Change it if you need help changing it. Seek out the things that make you feel good. Love. Love. You know what I mean? Love's the answer. Love and authenticity. Truth, courage, love. It's at the top of my profile. It's tattooed right here on my arm. I don't know if you can see it. Where's it at? I turn my arm. I'm all jacked up. Never mind. But my first tattoo, at any rate, truth, courage, love. Because that's what it's about. If you want to change the world, be honest, be open. It takes courage, but it all leads to love. And love is what changes the world. And love's really good for your body. Just don't become addicted to any of it. Don't become addicted to the feelings of love, because it will become toxic for you, because you will constantly seek those feelings in fake places that will just lead to you being hurt and an ultimately negative life, which will lead you back to your depression and, genuine. But the only way you really get genuine and can have it and appreciate it is to be genuine yourself. Don't expect what you can't have. If you want a great life, be great and believe that you're great. Because if you do not believe you're great, your ego is going to cheer you on that you are not great. Believe that you're great, and your ego will cheer you on that you are great, and it will find all the reasons to support it. Make yourself right. Cheer yourself on. Love yourself. Have a great night. Hope everybody enjoyed the show, and I will see you again next Saturday for another episode of Above the Noise. Love you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.